Well, the video I dreaded to make, but in the back of my mind had a feeling would end up happening, has actually happened. Yes, XDefiant is shutting down. No clickbait or anything here. We basically have until June 3rd of next year before the servers officially go down. From the announcement, they have said as followed. Hello XDefiant fans, I am unfortunately here today to announce that XDefiant will be shutting down. Starting today, December 3rd, 2024, new downloads and player registrations will no longer be available. We will still release our Season 3 content in the near future, exact date to be dated, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd, 2025. For those who purchased the Ultimate Founders Pack, you'll receive a full refund. Players who made any purchases within the last 30 days will also be fully refunded. Those refunds should happen automatically within 8 weeks of today, and you can find more details on our official website, xdefiant.com. A few years ago, Ubisoft and the San Francisco dev team embarked on a bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called XDefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking, while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we are also diving into the high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play, and for that I want to applaud not only the dev team, but also Ubisoft leadership for taking that chance. Free-to-play in particular is a long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become profitable. It's a long journey that Ubisoft and the team working on the game were prepared to make until very recently, but unfortunately the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am of course heartbroken to have to be writing this post. Yes, this game has been a personal passion for me for years, and yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory, but I also want to recognize all of the developers who are being affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own, and they all put so much of their own passion into making this game, and I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know that I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team, a team that really punched above its weight class, and what they achieved is truly remarkable. The early response from players when XDefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for the fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end we had over 15 million players play our game. That is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough this genre is. So thank you to all the developers who put their passion into making this game. If there's one thing I hope we can all take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between developers and players. This player-first mentality, along with respectful, non-toxic conversations between developers and players, has been one of the standout differences that made XDefiant so special. For my very first post about XDefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the game industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around XDefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost of love and respect, Mark. So yeah, that was a lot to read, but honestly, it's such a huge disappointment hearing that XDefiant was gonna shut down, especially after that last video I made where I was basically saying all the things they had to do to pretty much keep the game going. Something as simple as a Steam release, the fact that they like little things here and there. I know they were improving the netcode and everything, but there was just so many little things they could have done to keep the game going. But that's kind of the weird thing too, was the Steam release would have definitely helped the game out, but rather than do that, they just chose to abandon ship. And it's one of those things where Season 3 was coming up. We were pretty much everyone that was playing XDefiant was hyped about Season 3 because realistically it was going to be coming in 3 weeks. I mean, in roughly, actually, as of me making this video, 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we were going to get the next faction. We were going to start getting, if you looked at the roadmap, we were starting to get kill cams finally. There was so many stuff that was going to be pretty much, it was going to be the big season that they kept hyping up. But ultimately, the fault of XDefiant failing doesn't fall on the devs. It doesn't fall on the player base. It falls on Ubisoft. They basically could have done so much. They could have been all hands on deck with this game, but they just chose to just take the easy way out and just pretty much shut down the game. Yeah, we have 6 months, but when, when the fact that we only have 6 months, and not only it'd be different though if they just 6 months people could still download the game, people could still make purchases and all that. But aside from some people getting refunds for their purchases, you can't even download the game anymore. If you're a brand new player, they pretty much shut that down now. I'm pretty sure if you've had the game installed at some point, so say if you're someone that played during season 0 or season 1, or if you started at season 2, you can still download the game and play it. But say this is your first ever experience with XDefiant, you never downloaded up to this point, you're pretty much out of luck. I would say the only way I would think about being able to is if you manage to find some random accounts that people have made that to be able to, I guess, download the game. But again, that's just a stretch. I did want to stay optimistic, but again, this is Ubisoft we're talking about. I don't know, they seem to always have a track record of just being very anti-consumer, very it's a shame too. I believe there was a Twitter account that was leaking all the stuff that was coming in season 3, and the thing is, and from what I saw, I don't want to say anything about the leaks, but all of it seemed like it was for the players. It did not seem like something money-wise, but it was going to be something that would have actually made players want to drop back in, because it was a lot of good stuff in that leak. I mean, if we're lucky, I know they said that they were going to release season 3 at a to-be-dated amount. Basically, we don't know when. But maybe they were just trying to just break the news of, yeah, we're shutting this game down. We don't know. We don't want to say. We're more focused on letting you know that we're shutting this game in 6 months. But we're not going to include the news of when we're going to release season 3, because they never did talk about it. They probably have a whole debrief probably already set up for this. So maybe the debrief will happen. I don't know. Considering we have 2 weeks until supposedly it starts, maybe we'll get it next week. And I don't know. It's just kind of a bummer too, because like I said, and the thing that was most annoying, because might as well just kind of rip the band-aid on this one. I'm a mod on the official XDefiants server, and the second this news hit, we got bombarded by people just flooding in saying, yeah, this game's dead. Yeah, we told you so. But, like, just kind of gloating, and it's just like, dude, Call of Duty seems to always have like some shady manipulative practices. XDefiants, the first game that doesn't do any of that, and you're pretty much just gloating that you were right. But realistically, what does gloating get you? It's just gonna gloating doesn't really get you anywhere, because yeah, you're right, but you're right at what cost? Some people lost their jobs. A competitor that could have shooken up Call of Duty to actually start making good business practices, well, now they're getting away with whatever they were doing, which I saw a Blame Truth's video. They're basically I guess giving out bonus XP if you buy their Black Cell, which was like their $30 battle pass or something like that. So they're pretty much making it so if you want to level up faster, you basically got to spend money on a more expensive battle pass. Basically a mobile game route, if that would make sense. But they're doing it on a $70 game. And I know you're going to say there's always Game Pass, but that's like whether or not it's on Game Pass, that still doesn't excuse the fact that Call of Duty is still doing some shady practices. And the one of the few games, I know there's the finals, there's maybe Battlefield, there's other games, but one of them that did stick out the most was XDefiant. And because this game's pretty much shutting down, that pretty much just gives out the feeling of, yeah, see, we tried to be consumer friendly, it didn't work. And so, crank up skill-based matchmaking, drop more skins. It's just gonna, yeah, you can gloat and everything, saying that you were right, that this game was gonna die, you were right, or whatever. But ultimately, it's not gonna be the kind of victory you want in the long run. It's just gonna lead to a victory that's gonna basically sour your experience later on, as you realize, man, Call of Duty is just gonna get scummier and scummier with its practices. Who knows? Maybe at some point it's gonna be to the point that they're going to start adding weapons in the battle pass, and you can't even unlock them for free anymore unless you buy the battle pass. because, like I said, they're gonna basically take advantage of the consumers, and at this point, because of it being technically free on Game Pass, they've been cranking up the monetization to basically compensate for the fact that people aren't buying the game physically or digitally. They're gonna get their money elsewhere, and it's gonna basically start affecting the people that do want to buy the game, and all that because we basically are at a crossroad here where XDefiant has unfortunately died. We have 6 months of it and nothing they do, because you can't even make purchases at all at this point. So there's no purchases, there's no more downloads, there's no influx. So even if season 3 does happen and it's like the best season ever, no new players can drop in. And I'll, it's just a disappointment, honestly. I wish there was more we could have done. I honestly feel like a community event could have happened. The thing that irks me the most is how come they didn't, it's the fact that they did this leading up to the holidays. A bunch of devs from the XDefiant team just lost their jobs before the holidays. Who knows how stressful that is. On top of that, they could have, because season 3 would have released on the 18th. They could have at least done a 2-week grace period. So from the 18th, basically, hypothetically speaking, say it did release on the 18th. Give the game 2 weeks, What if they were announcing like a last gen, like the finals or a Steam release? Give the game 2 weeks. If they're so strapped on money, give it 2 weeks. And if they still can't pull players within those 2 weeks, because that's usually the time frame anyways. It's always the first month or 2 weeks or whatever. That's such a short time frame to let people know, does XDefiant have a shot? If season 3 doesn't start strong, they don't pull people back or anything like that, then go ahead, just pull the plug like they did now. But it's the fact that season 2 isn't even over yet. We still have 1 week to go or 2 weeks to go before it officially ends. And they pretty much just said, you know what, we're not even going to take a risk at this. Just pull the plug. We're done with this game. And it's not the first time they did this. They did the same thing to Hyperscaped, which I don't like. When I read the news of XDefiant shutting down, that game came to mind. It seems like the game's not one of Ubisoft's bread and butter, so if it's not an Assassin's Creed game, if it's not Rainbow Six Siege, if it's not Far Cry, if it's not one of their original IPs, like the ones that have been churning out pretty sloppily lately, if it's anything that's not their regular IPs and it's a brand new one, they just can it as soon as it's not making profit. And there's plenty of content creators that I've met, or I wouldn't say meet. I mean, the only closest thing was me being able to play a few matches with Nero, and aside from that, but you kind of get what I mean, though. I've had a few conversations with other content creators. I bumped with them through XDefiant because of how much of a community, because the community was small, so it was easy to just kind of get used to and running into other creators. But the community was small, but we were very loyal to the game. But ultimately, that didn't matter. But it was the fact that Ubisoft, and this is the big one too, this is the reason that I feel like XDefiant did not stand a chance. There was no advertisement. I know there's always like people that are saying, yeah, this game's dead. But I hate to say this, as annoying as they are, they're the minority. The majority have never heard of this game. I've had friends who are like, damn, I'm getting sick of Apex Legends. I'm getting sick of Overwatch. I'm getting sick of, like, most of them don't even play Call of Duty. They play, like, Valorant. They play CSGO. They play all these other games. The second I bring up, like, hey, if you're tired of those games, you should try XDefiant, I get the same responses or similar responses. I either get a, what's that? Or I never heard about that game. Or they have heard of it, but during the preseason when Ubisoft was paying all these big channels and streamers to play the game, but then season 1 and 2, non-existent. And towards the end of season 2, they started paying random channels to advertise the game. But You know what really would have done it? Instead of paying those channels, they should have just been paying some ads. You know how Twitch has been heavy with ads, YouTube has ads. They could have just played a simple 2-3 second ad to just say, or, this game is XDefiant. That's it. They didn't have to waste whatever money they were giving out to random channels who were going to play the game. And some people were basically going to be like, I'll maybe check it out, but different genres. So they weren't really going to actually commit to playing the game. That was the thing, though. It was just lack of advertisement. And yeah, if Ubisoft does commit to this, I'm going to still play XDefiant. I'm not giving up on the game. I'm almost done with the weapon grind. I at least, before the game officially shuts down, I just want to get all the skins and everything. But if Ubisoft does commit to this, I don't think they realize the kind of chain reaction this is going to cause. Because, like I said, they've shut down Hyperscaped. It seems like every time instead of giving a game a chance, they shut it down immediately. And they shut it out or delay it. Assassin's Creed Shadows. But ultimately, this is one of those breaking points that if Ubisoft goes through with this, they are serious about shutting down XDefiant when it hasn't even fully gotten a chance to be on Steam. Or, a chance to, basically they could have given it a 2-week period, like I said before, Season 3, advertise as crazy as you can, and if the game still can't pull the numbers they want, shut it down. Like, at that point, as much as I like this game, but if it's not, from a business perspective, I don't want to be basically draining money from them, because I'm pretty sure this game's pricey as it is to run servers. I don't know the cost of all that stuff, but if they're not making money, I can understand them shutting it down. But they did none of that. The game legit does not exist, but instead of, giving the game a chance to stand out, they're shutting it down. And, we have the minority of the Call of Duty players that are just pretty much gloating that they were right about this, but the majority are basically going to move on because no one knows this game even exists. You know how I know that? The majority are more focused on Marvel Rivals. The advertisement for that was so heavy that you can't even go through a regular scroll on the internet without knowing what that game is. There's advertisements for that everywhere. I don't see anything for XDefiant aside from when I was on Twitter. I don't have an account anymore, but there was just the occasional post from them, Facebook, and more recently TikTok. That's it. There was no advertisement. The game did not exist, and that's pretty much how it's going to have to go. The game had potential, but Ubisoft did not put the right resources. It was mismanaged. There was just so much wrong with the game that was getting fixed on the developer side of things, but from the public side of things, to get people to actually try it out, the game didn't exist. That's pretty much how it's going to go out, and it's sad because there's a lot of effort put into the game. And while the rest of us are going to recognize the team and appreciate all the hard work they did, for the majority, they don't even know what the devs have done with the game. And that's pretty much the legacy of XDefiant. Only the people that were following the game through and through are going to know the game existed, while the rest of the world is pretty much just like, what's that? But yeah, it's going to be, I don't know how this is going to work out, because I was excited for Season 3. I did what I could to basically advertise the game from my end. I made videos. I've been uploading clips. I was doing everything from my end. I know I'm not a big content creator, but I was doing everything I can because I do really appreciate this game. It's the first game that ever came out where somebody like me applied and got into the creator program, which I've applied to so many creator programs and never been able to get into it because, well, my channel was small. XDefiant gave me a chance, and I made sure to never let them down. Unfortunately, again, because of Ubisoft's lack of advertisement, it became a challenge of how to basically get eyes on the game, because every little post would basically, every time I made a post, it wouldn't fall on new people that were curious about the FPS. It would always fall on people that were already in the FPS scene. So more than likely people who have played other FPS games, or more specifically Call of Duty games, is where my post ended up. So chances are I was not helping bringing in new people. But I still tried. Like I said, maybe I would contribute to maybe adding like maybe 5 or 10 people to try out this game. I don't know if they have to this day, but they did try, and I'm proud of that. It's also the one reason why I appreciated the fact that there was no skill-based matchmaking, because I mentioned this before. I was able to play matches with Nero Cinema, content creator that I've been watching for years on end. I was able to finally play with him, even party up with him, because of no skill-based matchmaking. The last time I was able to ever play with any other famous content creator was back in Call of Duty World War II, I believe. Basically getting my ass handed to me by, I think, FaZe Optic, or I can't remember. It was a clan that was basically doing the Road to Prestige thing, and I was getting my ass handed to me by basically the best of the best on, can't remember the map. It was like a map that had like a dock or something like that. But like I said, the no skill-based matchmaking. I also ran into Zill, I believe his name was. But one thing I did notice is I only ran into them if I was playing on Central. And one thing was, I guess all the cool content creators were on the east side and I was on the west. So I didn't really run into a lot of them. But when I did, again, it felt nice that it just felt like a common drop-in of going against other players or other content creators, simply because skill-based matchmaking wasn't there. So it wasn't tweaking my experience so that I would never run into them. Because if I were to play Call of Duty, my stats would follow me, and I was a hardcore sweat from Modern Warfare 2019 all the way to Cold War, and then stopping when I realized how much background manipulation was in that game. And then when I tried the beta version for Modern Warfare 3, my skill base was just following me there, or my skills and all that, my ranking, my stats basically followed me to that game, and I had the worst experience ever because no one was talking on my team, and if they did, they were extremely toxic. They were also the other team who did not move, and if they did move, it was mostly because they were just setting up to be in their camping spot. That's basically where my skill-based matchmaking put me. It wasn't the fact that it was sweats. I don't mind sweats because XDefiant. But it was the fact that it was putting me with people that were just not moving, and it just made the game so boring for me, at least. Again, it's an unfortunate thing, to be honest. It bugs me. Like, this game had so much potential, and Ubisoft, instead of, seeing this game's full potential, it could have given it the same comeback that Rainbow Six Siege had. Like, instead of doing that, they're just canning it. And it's honestly pretty annoying because, like I said, this is going to affect Ubisoft in the long run. They might think, yeah, we're doing this to save some money, we're doing this to cut costs or whatever. But ultimately, what it's going to do is it's going to basically make it next to impossible for them to basically stay as a game developer, game publisher. They've been doing so many shady stuff behind the scenes, and they're basically almost on par of being in the same scummy practices as Activision without the money, as much as I hate to say that. Like I said, they pretty much have killed any good graces for me because I really don't trust Ubisoft anymore. If this video cost me my Ubisoft partnership, then so be it. I did say that I was going to stay loyal to XDefiant, but if Ubisoft is the reason this game was going to be facing hardship, which it has time and time again, this game can never catch a break, because ultimately, if it does bad, it's Ubisoft. If it does good, it doesn't matter because it's Ubisoft. This game was just doomed to fail because Ubisoft is just a really bad business that ultimately, if they manage to get some talented devs, get talented people to make a game, they just have a huge history of bad practices that just pretty much let people know, yeah, this studio isn't really that well to be trusted, which says a lot when Activision has done scummier things, but people will just pretty much, because of the bad quality. That's the thing though. Activision does have bad practices, but they pump out good quality games, as much as I hate to admit that. Ubisoft, however, does bad practices while pumping out bad quality games time and time again. And that's pretty much no fault to the XDefiant team, Mark Rubin and them. They just, if they ever decide to make another project, the best advice I can give them is go independent or do it somewhere where, it's like neutral. So say if they ever announce another game, make sure the publisher is on neutral ground so that when you do work hard in the game, if you have to delay stuff or anything like that, it doesn't affect you in the long run, because the last thing you want is to basically pour your soul into a game and none of it matters because people hate the publisher behind it. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, I'm still going to work on more videos. I have 181 days to just come up with as much content as I can for this game. But ultimately, who knows? Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, comment what your thoughts about this whole XDefiant thing is, and yeah. Before I end this video though, I will, however, show one little screenshot that, like I said, as I was making this video, one of my viewers sent me this, and it's the reason that I feel like XDefiant was never going to come to to Steam in the first place. And it just sucks. Like, it could have brought second life to the game, but I'll show you the screenshot, but at the same time, I'll also leave a link to the article in the description. Anyways, see you later, everyone.